finally face-to-face, so it's so great. Our reality requires highly motivated people doing great things. New ways of working require new ways of leading. But the question is, how do we get there? So today I'm going to share some ideas around how we can redefine leadership using the principles and practices of intent-based leadership, and I'll share some of the neuroscience behind it, and really how we can work together to get great things done. So this maybe reflects a little bit my journey, but I also see it as sort of the redefining leadership journey so that we create this space where people can jump into and take responsibility and say, I intend to, instead of, could I please do this? And then waiting for the response saying, oh yeah, go ahead, you can go do that. No, we want to change that around. So looking at the process of Agile is a really great starting point, right? We understand together and we're planning together and validating and we're reflecting. And all of that is really great. We're following the value. And it's not enough. We need to really understand how people think, how we're motivated. Why does Agile work? Why do all those ceremonies and events in Agile actually work? How does that fit in our way of working? And that is also not enough. So bringing in intent-based leadership, so this is my bias, of course. I know there are other leadership paradigms. I happen to think intent-based leadership is one that complements Agile ways of working so well because it ties into how we are motivated and how we achieve focused thinking and how we create a space for people to jump in and take responsibility. So we have this culture of intent in action. And the last, or maybe the most important, is the human element of all of this. And in our busy world and all the stuff that we've been through the last couple of years and all the things that are going on in the world today, remembering that in the end, we're all in this together. So how can we bring that sense of belonging and empathy as part of how we lead? And when I talk about leadership, I have to say, I don't mean, management. This is where English is really good, because we have this difference between leadership and management. And I see leaders at every level in an organization. So when I talk about leadership, I mean leading at every level, no matter what your title, role, responsibilities. We can all redefine how we lead in today's world. All right, so the principles of intent-based leadership, they're really simple, and as I said, they tie into how we are motivated, how we create a space where we can think, so focused thinking. And the 6 principles are pushing the authority to people who have the information, tuning control based on competence and clarity, making it safe, fixing the environment, not the people. Don't be good, get better, and act your way to new thinking. So using these 6 principles and some of the practices around there, we can really create a space where people thrive, where they do their best thinking. All right, empowerment. Yes, I can't tell you how many KPIs I see. KPIs, kills performance instantly. Yeah. Around empower. We're going to empower people. And the intention is good, right? So it is not about, we want to be in control of people. That's not what it is. But the language that we use affects how we think. So when we say, okay, we're going to empower people, that's sort of the opposite of empowerment, right? So if I have the power to empower you, are you empowered? I don't know. But we want to create the environment where people feel empowered. So whenever I see that as an objective or a key result in an organization, I'm assuming positive intent. And so it is about creating the space where people feel empowered. And we can do that by pushing the authority to people who have the information. So again, in so many organizations, people who are doing the work closest to the work, they are the smartest people about what's going on with the work, right? So why then, if somebody who's doing the software development or the marketing or whatever it is in the organization, why, if they want to make a change or want to do something extra or something like that, why do we have to push that decision up the organization to people that actually don't have a clue, right? So just recently, actually it was last week, I was talking to a product owner, and she was saying, in the team, we know that if we just did a little bit more here with this particular feature, we could bring a lot more value. But it doesn't fit with what the upper management sees around this. And so she didn't want to, even though the team was like, hey, this is not going to take any time, it will bring us a big reward longer term, she didn't want to make that decision. So what did she do? Yes, up the organization, change management board, waited and waited and waited. Actually, she only waited like 3 days. So that was pretty quick for a change that would take the team about 15 minutes. So the decision came back, no, that doesn't fit. No, don't do that. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. So pushing the authority to the people who have information so that we can make smarter decisions. It also happens to tie into how our brains work, right? So if we're constantly having to ask for permission, it goes up, then comes back down. Even if the answer is yes, we're like waiting and waiting and waiting. And meanwhile, there's a lot of waste happening. So if we can change that around, challenge the policies and procedures that are in your organizations or students, the student group, you have such an amazing opportunity to change the world here because, hey, when I was your age, I knew nothing about this. Command and control was the way to go. So it's just so awesome that we have the opportunity today. And we have a generation coming up that, is already here, that thinks in a different kind of way. So push the authority to people who have the information. We avoid waste. But that can be kind of scary for some. And I can tell you that I'm a recovering control freak. I was a really, really good project manager. I would run around and like, oh, please, can you do this? Oh, remember you said you would do this. So I was super sweet in my command and control ways, but it was still command and control. So it was scary for me to give up control around the decision making. What if they make the wrong decision if I'm pushing the authority to people who have the information? What then? What do I do? Well, we can tune the control based on competence and clarity. So we look at, okay, do people understand what it is that we need to do? And do they have the skill to actually do it around the decisions? So giving control is based on these two pillars: technical competence and organizational clarity. Technical competence, how skilled are we? Do we have what it takes to do our jobs? And I'm guessing in your organizations, you're not hiring people who don't have the competency. Just a guess. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. So you've got talented people working in your organizations that have the competency. Clarity. So organizational clarity is the second pillar. This is, do we understand where we're going? Do we have a roadmap? Other plans? Do we have a vision? Do we understand together what it is that we're trying to achieve? So do we have clarity in our organization about what it is we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve? And that, of course, is at all levels. So it can be, high-level strategy and also, okay, what are we going to do in the next sprint? So organizational clarity, these two pillars. When we have technical competence and organizational clarity, we have people who can jump in and make decisions, right? We don't have to ask. The thing is, how do we know, right? Which way do we go first? We've got give control on that y-axis, right? Give control to others. So I'm the recovering control freak. I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. And then technical competence and organizational clarity that others possess, the people that we're going to give control to. Which direction do we go first? Do we go up, giving control, or do we make sure that people have the technical competence and organizational clarity? Which way do we go first? Any guesses? Up. Up. Yes, you get a prize. I did finish writing the book, by the way. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay, so what makes you say up? Now I'm putting you on the spot.
Giving trust.
Giving trust. Yep.
Also, in order to identify if you actually have the right competence, if you make sure that the clarity is there already or not.
Yep. So this is how you find out, right? If people have the competence and the clarity. Yes. Yes. That's right. We have to trust first and give control first. And if it's too much, so if that bit of giving control feels too scary, then we give a little bit of control. And then, okay, everything is cool. Then a little bit more. Great. Nothing bad's happening. And a little bit more. Yes. So, no, not so. Okay. So something happens. It's usually some kind of mistake. And here's your opportunity, right? Is it technical competence or is it organizational clarity? What happened? So we can fill this gap or help our people fill the competence or clarity gap. So, and we keep doing this kind of nice, if you will, optimal work environment where we give a little control. Maybe something happens, we close the gap, give more control, give more control. And the reason to do it this way is so that we can also stay in control. The brain has a really strong need to be in control. So you may recognize this if something goes wrong. Maybe you trusted somebody to do something, and something went wrong, and you were just like, if I had just done it myself. Right? And then the next time you're thinking about giving control, you're remembering about, no, I want this done right. So I'm going to do it myself, take it back. And that's what our managers do, whether they're leaders or not, because that is how the brain works. That if something goes wrong, we want to take back control, get in control. So the best way to do that is take that control away from you. And I have it back with me. So we need to give control in a safe way, both for the giver and the receiver, if you will. And by doing it in this kind of, what we call the optimal work environment way, we can also feel like, okay, I need to take that big leap to trust first, and then I see what happens. And then I see what happens. And then I have the opportunity as a leader to help people close the gap. And in our sort of informal survey here, when something goes wrong, it's usually not about competency, right? Because you have competent people in your organizations. It's usually about clarity. So when a mistake happens, it's usually because someone didn't understand what it was that we wanted them to do or what the direction was or whatever. It's a clarity issue. And the clarity issue, whose problem is that? Yes, it's my problem, right? So I need to do something else to make it more clear. whether it's a workshop or one-on-one or whatever it is, to make things more clear, more visible, more transparent, so that people can make the right decisions, so that they can do what it is we want them to do. And one of the mechanisms is language. So I intend to. And you can turn this around the other way. What do you intend to do? What do you intend to do? I intend to. It is the language of intent rather than the language of control. So when we have people running around saying, I intend to do this, we're not asking for permission. We're informing, I intend to do this, because it could be that I'm missing something. And it's opportunity for the people around me, whether it's my boss or colleagues or whoever it is, to say, Jenni, hey, you need to know this. Or did you talk to so-and-so about whatever? Or if I'm feeling really nervous, if somebody says, I intend to do this, I may want to ask some other questions. And I usually preface it with, it's not because I don't trust you. You know I'm a recovering control freak, so I just need to feel a sense of safety. It's about me, it's not about you. So then it gives an opportunity for that sort of two-way communication. And this is a safer place, both for the person who's taking control and also for the person who's giving control. And again, when we think about how our brains work, we don't want to activate our limbic systems. This is where the fight, flight, or freeze is. This is where our survival mechanisms are. We don't want to activate that part of the brain. We want to keep the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, activated. So whatever we can do to calm, if we're feeling nervous or scared or threatened or whatever it is, we need to bring it out there. That's that humanness, right? Showing our vulnerability as leaders. Hey, this is not about you. I am feeling a little out of control. It's not about you, it's about me. So please tell me a little bit more about what you intend to do. And it's not because we're trying to stop that other person. It's for us. And for the person saying, I intend to, we need to create that space so that they can say that. So we need to stop giving the answers. When people say, hey, what should I do next? Or what do you think about this? Yeah, well, what would you like to do? What are you hearing? All right, what do you intend to do based on that? So we need to stop giving the answers. It's an opportunity to have a conversation and to help people jump into that space where they are running around saying, I intend to. So we also need to make it safe to say, I intend to, or I don't know, or I made a mistake, or I'm feeling really under pressure with this. I think I need some help. So as leaders, using the principle around psychological safety, making it safe for people to speak up, making it safe for people to jump in and make decisions and take responsibility, because otherwise it won't happen. If people don't feel safe, maybe they're carrying around some old baggage from a previous job where, every time they made a decision, they were punished. It's like, I'm not making any decisions because you know what? When something goes wrong, I am going to blame you. Right? It's not my fault. You told me what to do. So that's not so great for thinking. And we need organizations filled with highly motivated, thinking people who are doing really cool things, coming to great solutions. So we need to make it safe. And the bias for staying silent is huge. Some of you may know the work of Amy Edmondson. If you have not read The Fearless Organization, I can highly recommend it. She's one of the leading experts in psychological safety, and this is her grid. So talking about this bias between speaking up and staying silent. Perhaps I'm in a meeting, and I'm new to the group. Maybe I only have a few years' experience doing what the rest of the group is doing, and there's some, top-level managers in this little meeting, and we're talking about new ideas that we can take forward. And I'm in there thinking, okay, this is cool. This is great. So all the stuff they're talking about, this reminds me of what we did at our previous job, and actually my thesis was on this, and so I'm gonna say something. Who benefits there? The organization or customers, right? If I say something, bring up a new idea, or at least I think it's new, there's a potential benefit for everyone with me speaking up. And when does that benefit occur? Not till later, right? I don't know if this idea is a good one. I don't know if it's going to bring value. We don't know, right? So if it happens, it's going to happen later. It's not happening in that meeting. And the certainty of the benefit is super low. So same meeting, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'm new. I'm just listening. What if my idea isn't so great? I don't know. Maybe they've heard this before. I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen. I'm really good at listening. So I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to listen to what's happening here in this meeting. Who benefits in that situation? Me. Right? I'm not putting myself out there in any way for them to reject me or to say, oh, you're new here, or whatever it is, or you haven't had enough experience with this, or whatever. I'm not putting myself out there to be rejected. So I benefit. And when does that benefit occur? Right there in the moment. Yes, dopamine shooting in my brain. I'm just listening. And the certainty of the benefit is high. So if we look at the speaking up row, this activates the limbic system, right? The survival mechanisms. What if I say something that they don't like? Oh, this could be scary for me. The bottom row, that activates my prefrontal cortex because I'm just listening and I'm protecting myself, and so I'm not spending any energy trying to sort of fight things off or feel bad about being rejected because I'm just staying silent. So making it safe for people to speak up is hard. We need to actually do things. So some practices that we need to do. We need to facilitate to make it easier. We need to encourage getting outlying opinions, and making it safe. Maybe it's putting things on a little Post-it. Whatever the ideas are, put it in a hat, no names. Or if you're doing it online, writing stuff up, put it on a frame, no names, so that it feels safer for people to say something, and you're requiring people to say something. Stina.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how do you mix it or connect it to the intent to? Because in my organization, there's the speaking up part is not really the problem, but it's more someone should do this. So it's more blabbing out sometimes, not the I intend to or I want to.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you, if I would paraphrase, how do you sort of put a frame on the speaking up so people aren't just like blabbing out stuff, like super safe, right, to say things? And a way that you can do that here is the next part is to use this framework, right? So we need to also have performance standards around how we work. So both the combination of psychological safety and high performance standards so that we can create a space where we have this learning organization. And I'm going to come back to this in a minute with a little bit more detail on that slide. But thank you. Yeah. So this making it safe, this bias between staying silent and speaking up, we need to really facilitate the space, create the space where people can jump into. And the putting some constraints on if you need to, right? So that you don't get all sorts of random ideas. Maybe you want to have a brainstorm about a particular challenge in the organization. This is the budget you're working with. These are whatever time constraints, whatever else you have, so that you can get more focused speaking up answers based on, sort of more performance standards. But the safety thing is really, really big. One of the organizations that I'm working with, they have a slogan that is essentially get it right the first time. And that is great, sort of, right? The intention is good because they are making products that are sort of could have life or death implications for their customers. So the intention is to build trust with the end user consumer, if you will. However, that culture has permeated the entire organization, and how does that fit with agile ways of working? Or innovation, for that matter, right? So innovation, we need to fail hundreds of times fast so that we can learn and go in a different direction. And that doesn't work with getting it right the first time. So just that slogan in the organization has permeated the culture and made it a space where people feel stressed about showing, an earliest testable or an earliest usable product. And certainly not so much innovation is happening on the software side. Maybe on the other side, where they're creating the things that they're giving their customers. I won't give away the the organization. So we need to make it safe for people to speak up. And looking at this matrix here, so if we create a space where there is low psychological safety, so it's not safe for people, and we have high performance standards, we have all these great people working, and we have all these goals and objectives we need to get to, that is super stressful. It causes a lot of anxiety and fear. And stress in the brain, if it's too much stress, puts us over the edge. It puts us into limbic system activation, and this is where we don't have focused thinking. We can't come to solutions. It's biologically impossible because that part of the brain is not activated. So we need to have the combination. Psychological safety is the foundation for high performance. It is the foundation to creating a space where people take responsibility, take action, share intent in all of this. So we need both to get that learning in high-performance organization. All right. So the next principle is fix the environment. We can't fix people. I'm on my third husband, so now I finally learned this lesson. We can only fix the environment. So what are the things that are in our environment that are getting in our way? Is it the policies and procedures? Is it the way we reward people? Are we encouraging bad behavior because we promote the people who are telling others what to do? Oh, they are so decisive and powerful, right? Unless you're a woman, then you're a bitch. But no, that's changing, thankfully. So what we can do is fix the environment. So in the beginning of the pandemic, I think we were all sort of like, oh, what tools are out there? One of my colleagues is really great with tools, and I'm sort of a Luddite. Is that a word that you know? So technology is like, yeah, I like face-to-face. Facilitation, workshops, getting together, doing trainings. Oh, face-to-face, that's the only way, right? And then suddenly it was like, oh, maybe it's not the only way. And so my colleague, who loves all the different collaboration tools, he's like, okay, now, Jenny, it's time for you to learn this. And so I had a pretty steep learning curve in all of this. But, there's so many tools out there. So one of the organizations that I was doing some training for, they were like, oh, we're going to do training online. I'm like, great, yes, let's do it. Microsoft Teams with only the Teams whiteboard. That's it. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. But then I thought, no, it's a new challenge. I need to try and see if I can do this. I can tell you I failed fast. And then I put my foot down. I said, look, we can do this in Miro. It's not hard. If I can learn it, anyone can learn it. So it took a lot of lobbying. But this is an example of something that's in the environment that's getting in our way. And if we don't challenge that, we can't create the space where people can jump into. We cannot create the space where people do their best thinking. You know, I've seen teams who can't get whiteboards in the places where they're sitting. It's like, well, then forget about doing Agile. I mean, really, you may as well tie people's hands behind their backs. So we need to take advantage of those things and fix the environment. So, and language is such a key part of how we fix the environment. So you can have physical, but also the language that we use affects how we think. It affects how we think. So think back to when you were little. Did you ever want to be a resource when you grew up? I mean, come on, right? It's like, yeah, but that's what our controllers in finance call it. So we're just using their language. It's like, no. They know what people are, right? So language. So some things not to say. Now this is my list. There are a lot more things not to say. Notice I have no swear words on here, and so far so good. I haven't cursed once. So what not to say? And the reasons not to. So resources and FTEs. This is my personal pet peeve. I'm the annoying one in the meeting when people are saying resources. I'm like, excuse me? What's a resource? Oh, well, you know, the people. Oh, you mean your talented, competent people that you have working here in this organization? Oh, people. Okay, people. They're like, oh, can we get rid of this woman? Yeah, so resources and FTEs. And the reason not to, it's dehumanizing. So whether you agree with me or not, the research shows that when we use language that takes us away from who we are as people, it dehumanizes us. We're on a spreadsheet suddenly, and you know what? Oh, I need to adjust those numbers. We just get rid of that FTE, right? It's not a person. We make different decisions when we think about people than when we think about resources and FTEs. They and them maintain silo thinking. And this is hard in an organization, right? Because maybe, they in group IT are doing these things that are really annoying for us over here, and if they would just get their acts together and do this, right? Instead, if we take out the word they and say, well, our colleagues in group IT, it changes how we think. So we can break silos just by changing our language. It takes time, of course, and effort and thinking, but we can do it. So the question why? 2-year-olds? Why? That's not the kind of why I'm thinking about. But when we ask the question why, what happens in our brains is it puts us on the defensive. It activates our limbic systems. So that why are you saying that? Right? And it's like, oh, suddenly it's about me. It's not about whatever the decision or whatever it might be. It's about me. Am I stupid? Can I defend this? I don't know. So it puts us on the defensive. Everything good? No, everything's crap, right? So it's a self-affirming question. So don't ask the question. Everything good? No, what are you going to say? We need to get this done. Oh, I've heard that a lot. We need to get this done. Really? Do you? Do you really have to get this done? What if there's something else we don't know? Do we have that opportunity for someone to speak up, jump in, share intent, take action? So, Are you sure? This is a binary question. So questions with yes or no answers don't really provide that much information and don't change how we think. And that's what we're looking for here. And then the last one I have, it's our policy. Well, that's an easy answer. It's our policy. Why are you doing it this way? What makes you do it this way? It's our policy. Shuts down the ideas. So what can we say instead? Here are some ideas. People, we and us. using what or how questions instead of why questions. When we move to what makes you say that, or how did you come to this decision, it takes us outside of ourselves, and it's about, okay, what was in the environment? What did you hear? What did you see? So it's not about you, it's about the observations. And the observations, they're objective, right? So you can judge those observations if you want, but they're not about me. I just use those to come to a decision. So it keeps our prefrontal cortex activated instead of putting us on the defensive. So think about your why questions and see if you can't turn them around a little bit into what and how. And this is one of the practices of intent-based leadership, is changing how we ask those questions. What am I missing? How ready are we for this? How sure are you? So this is great. Okay, at home, at the office, outside, I'm the annoying person at the party. How sure are you? How sure are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you? On a scale of 0 to 100, how sure are you? That is gives you a better sense of the certainty, if you will, the clarity, than are you sure? Because I may not feel safe enough to say, no, I don't really get it, or I wasn't listening, or whatever. So it enables a space to jump into. And then how could we do this differently instead of it's our policy? To ask that question. So using language, we can change how we think, and we can fix the environment. And we have total control over the words that we use. So this is a great way to change and create the space where people can jump into. All right, so the next principle is don't be good, get better. And it's not that good is okay. The problem is we get stuck in good, and it becomes something that we end up defending. And instead, if we think, yeah, great, we're good, and we can be even better, or I can be even better, it's super motivating for the brain. So when we have this attitude of, yes, what can I learn today? It's about being even better. And this is how we get cool stuff in our organizations. This is how we have motivated people in our organizations who make decisions, who share intent, take action, and do cool things. So, and understanding that we're on this continuum. This is called the toward away continuum. And over here, we need to prove constantly how good we are. You've been in these meetings. I'm guessing you have. With managers, usually. Managers, remember? Managers, leaders, 2 different words. Around the table, sharing their great ideas, and we did this, and I've got 10 years experience doing it this way, and our team is the best team, and this is how it's always been done, and we know it's good, and so we're going to do it this way. Okay. All right. And they're proving. So I'm a consultant, and I spend a lot of time proving, and I hate it because it keeps me from improving. So, you don't really want to hire a consultant that's like, I don't know, or, yeah, we made a mistake, unless you're working for some really cool people who get this stuff, right? So our bias is not to show our vulnerability here. And so we're protecting ourselves. And when we protect ourselves, the limbic system is activated and we're not getting better. We're proving how good we are and on the defensive. So over here, I intend to. I see change as a challenge. I'm focused on improving. Our teams are focused on improving. And it's just a super cool way to work because dopamine is being released in our brains. It's the reward neurotransmitter. It makes us feel good. And when our brains feel good, we have more focused thinking. So being even better is really motivating for the brain. So create space for your people to learn and grow and try new things and have it be okay if it doesn't go right the first time. So don't be good. Be be better. And the last of the principles is act your way to new thinking. We cannot think our way to new acting. It is just impossible. So the old days where it was like, oh, I'm going to analyze this forever, and then we're going to think about it, and then we're going to change. That doesn't work. The only thing that works is to see it and feel it, and then you change. So for the brain, we decide to do something different. We do it, we feel a reward, and we repeat until we have that new sort of habit, if you will, that new thinking. And you can test this yourselves. So this is a personal story, so not a work story. I had started running when I was 18 years old, and I'm not so athletic. But, running, you can do it anywhere. Doesn't really take that much. Some shoes and, maybe some shorts or whatever. And I wanted to, eat ice cream. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna run. And I hated it, actually. And every day for, about 25 years, not every day, 5 times a week for 25 years, I was running, and I hated it. I never had the endorphins, none of that. It was just like, okay, just do this and get it over with. It was a little like on the same level as cleaning the bathroom. Just do it, get it over with, you'll feel better later. And I thought, act my way to new thinking. Can I change how I think about running? And so I did a little experiment and decided I am going to change how I think about running. So I did what anybody would do. I went out and bought new running shoes and a cute running outfit. And then I set it out the night before, so when I got up in the morning, it was like, all right, I'll put it on and I'll just go. And then the usual like, yeah, my calf, it hurts. Okay, but aren't I lucky I have a calf? Some people don't have calves. And then I was like, my knee and my thighs. And I was like, yeah, but you're building muscle. That's why your thigh hurts. So every time there was something negative popping into my brain, I was thinking, okay, turn that around, reframe that. What's the positive side of this? And I'm not, so I have this sort of running discussion with my husband. He is for sure an optimist. And he does not think I'm an optimist. I say I'm a realist. So it was hard for me, right, to reframe everything. But every time there was something. And also I don't like to sweat. So it was like, And then I thought, no, when you sweat, that means you're in shape. It's like, okay. So it took me 9 months. And I realized, somewhere right around the 9th month, I wasn't hating this anymore. I was like, what happened? I wasn't loving it, I can tell you that either. But I wasn't hating it anymore. I thought, I have changed how my brain is wired. That's called neuroplasticity. So you can change by reframing. So we can do this in the office as well. So one of the words, when we're talking about language, that I love is the word yet. Some of you may be familiar with the work of Carol Dweck, Growth Mindset. And she talks about the power of yet. So if you're hearing, I can't or we can't, just say the word yet. You don't have to say anything else. If you hear somebody say, I can't, just say yet. We can't yet. Suddenly, before you know it, it will catch on and it will change how people think. Yeah, we can't do it right now, but we'll be able to, right? We'll get there. So we can act our way to new thinking instead of thinking our way to new acting. So getting this mindset shift so we achieve these behaviors. So this is the physical evidence, right, of a mindset shift, that we experiment, that we focus on progress over time, and that we have a desire to learn from others. So physical evidence of a mindset shift. This is what you should look for in the organization. This is how you know that you are acting your way to new thinking, because we're doing these things in the organization. So those are the 6 principles of intent-based leadership. And we can use these principles and practices to create a space where people thrive, where they do their best thinking. When we give control, when we increase competence and clarity, when we build stronger, more psychologically safe workplaces where people feel valued and supported, people take responsibility. They share intent, they take action, and they get great things done together. So thank you so much. I want to open it up for questions here. What questions do you have, if you have some questions right away? Okay, so this is a brain thing. It's really hard to shift from listening to coming up with questions. So I'm going to ask you to talk to somebody who's close to you, in whatever size group you want to do. Have a little talk for a minute or two, and then we'll see if there's anything that you want to share or ask about. So just talk with the people around you just for a minute or two about what you heard. All right, I'm going to cut you off now. As much as I hate to stop the great conversation, so what were you talking about? What struck you, or what questions came up, or what stories came up that maybe somebody would like to share? What did you talk about?
I mean, the foundation for everything is the psychological safety. I mean, it all starts there in a way. And when you have an organization, does people feel safe? I mean, you don't reflect on that every day. So we were discussing that. Is our people safe? Are we safe in the management team and so on? And I mean, to do that assessment and start from there, I think that's a good way to start this journey.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you think people are safe, and then you find out later that actually, no. So one of the things, thank you for sharing that. One of the things that happened to me last week, I was facilitating a workshop with a group of leaders who want to become a team, or at least their manager wants them to become a team. But they've been working together for the last 3 years. There's a lot of history there, but they get along quite well. And they had never done a working agreement in the team, in this leadership team. And I thought, oh, this would be a great way to bring them together, have common goals, understand where we're going, clarity, and then look at some of the actions that we can do in the ways of working and the ways of leading. And at the end of the workshop, I just thought, okay, now I want to get a commitment to this. And so I did, some of you know this thumb voting thing. So yes, great, no, here, not so sure. And when we're here, it's like, okay, what would it take to get you here? Or what would it take to get you here? But all of them were thumbs up on the goals and the working agreement. And I thought, cool, great. And then I start having one-on-ones with these people after the next week. Okay, so this was 2 weeks ago. The next week, which was last week. And they're like, yeah, I didn't really agree to those. And I'm like, what? What? So that was my inner voice. And I said, so you gave the thumbs up. I noticed you gave the thumbs up. Yeah. So what made you give the thumbs up? Yeah, everyone else did. I thought it was just me. I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Now I know, fail fast. Physical evidence that they didn't feel safe, even in the group. It's like, oh, okay. So I love that you're looking at that in your team, in your leadership team. Thank you. Yeah. What else? Sorry.
Did you want it over here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I had 3 questions. The first is, are there any good tools for self-evaluation around these topics?
Oh, yeah. So actually, there are a number of assessments on the website comparativeagility.com, from psychological safety to leadership, all kinds of things that can give you a baseline, and I find that they're quite helpful. So I have one, so, disclosure, but also Amy Edmondson has one, and there are other experts in the industry that have assessments that you might find useful. Yeah.
Yes, and then in a team setting, where you're quite a small group, it's hard to do things anonymous, usually.
Yeah.
How could you make it safe in a smaller group?
Yeah, you have to be a little more creative. It could be, if you're doing a face-to-face kind of workshop, even the handwriting people would recognize, so you might ask for people to print out on the same kind of paper using the same font, so that you can put it into a hat or a bowl or whatever. If you're doing it online, you can use an online tool that keeps the responses anonymous, and you can Google those. Yeah.
Thank you. And then the last one is how to change the organization when you're just a Scrum Master. You're kind of a leader, but you're kind of in the bottom.
You need to have a lot of patience. It depends how big the organization is. Some, smaller size, you can change quite quickly, actually, with just a few people in an organization who are using different language or whatever. In a larger organization, sometimes it works, sometimes you get kicked out before that happens, or you get frustrated, right? So, it's that whole, if we don't give control to people who have the competence and clarity, we feel frustrated. And oftentimes that happens. So, I was working in a large bank, doing some leadership training for the product managers and line managers, so kind of the middle managers in the organization. And a funny thing happened after they finished the program with me. Most of them left. Not so good for my business. But they realized that, this is too slow, I want to move faster, or whatever. So my best advice is get a group of people at all levels in the organization and just start talking about this. Because chances are there are a lot of people who want to make some changes. And then you can do it together. So, and sometimes just don't talk about Agile. That might help too. Maybe. Well, this is where my realism comes in. Yeah. So advertising the successes are a really good thing. And bringing in people, even if you have to camp outside their door, come, we want to show you this. Right? So we can't push or coerce people, because that makes us dig in our heels. It's that works for your team, but our team is different. Right. So, but I love the idea of, promoting it so that it's visible in the organization. And then if it's so visible, of course, upper management can't ignore it and are asking those questions. The good ones are anyway. Yeah. Or.
Thank you. Well, firstly, we were reflecting on the fact that this yet thing, so much this, very good. We're definitely gonna adopt this. But we actually stuck some on the question that I think it was Stina who asked regarding. Let's see if I can rephrase it. You said something about being scary, speaking up. It's true. I lost my thread of thinking now. But yes, to get people to speak up is one thing, but like she said, I have seen a problem where people speak and say, we should do it. No, someone should do this. Someone should do this. Someone. So there's no intent in it,
No.
but they're speaking. And I was thinking, I would like to maybe attach them, encourage people to take responsibility without making it scary to speak up. For example, saying, well, could you do that?
Yeah.
Is it your experience, or could you share some advice on how you could actually change that way of thinking without making it scary for that person to actually speak up?
Yeah. So just so I understand the question, is the person who's afraid, they're the ones who are saying someone should do that? Yeah, okay. So I would just ask, so that's, I might say, if I think it's a great idea, I would say, great, that sounds like a cool thing to do. So how can I help you do that? What can we do to make that happen? So depending on the person, you could, if it would scare them to say, how can I help you do that? Then just say, well, what would that take to make that happen in this team or in the organization? And then maybe some more ideas come up. And it could be that the person is like, yeah, I would like to do this, but I don't have any experience. Okay, how can I help you find somebody to pair up with or whatever? So really looking at, are there some obstacles there just by asking those questions? Yeah.
I had a question, I think maybe it's the same question as you had about, but I think what I missed, or maybe you spoke about it, but it's about ownership, how this all is connected to ownership. And I was thinking the same, but someone should, or you should, and instead say, I could. Also changing the language a bit. So maybe it's the same question, but maybe you can comment a bit about this.
Is it Marie?
Yeah.
I did not pay Marie, I'm just saying. So, yeah. We need to involve and engage people to create ownership. So, in the decisions that we make, by giving control, in how we set our performance standards, for example, around the safety part, in what we can do to have a foundation of psychological safety. The more influence people have, the more ownership they feel. So we really need to bring that autonomy. This is why giving control is so important in an organization. And then we need to activate. Because if we're involved in something, touching things, whether it's online or in a physical workshop or at a whiteboard or whatever it is, we engage the brain and we create the space where people can take ownership. And this is the tricky part, because if as a manager, you come in and say, oh yeah, great ideas, we're not doing those. There's no ownership. And then there's a reluctance to take ownership the next time, because we're creating this sort of brain memory of, oh yeah, remember when we spent an hour doing that? And then they were like, no. So we need to create that space. Giving control, involving and engaging people in how we understand together, in how we plan together, in how we validate the work that we're doing together and get that feedback, and then in how we reflect together. And if we're involving and engaging in all those things, we create ownership. And this is why I love most of the Agile practices, because they're designed to involve and engage people and create ownership. That's the benefit of a stand-up meeting or a PI planning or whatever methodologies you're using, Kanban board. It's so we understand together and plan together and validate together and reflect together. And when we do those things, people feel involved and engaged and naturally feel ownership. So we have to fix the environment to make that happen. Thank you so much. I think we've got the questions. So thank you very much. It was so nice to be here with you face to face. So thank you.